Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream. My name is Alan Collins. It is Thursday, September 10th, 2020. If you're new to the group, welcome. We're very glad that you found us. We're the oldest, largest, and pretty much only group out there actually fighting for student loan justice. Been around for 15 years now. We started fighting very moderately for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. Well, Congress failed us, the president failed us. And now it's a failed lending system. We are now calling very strongly for the cancellation of all federally owned student loans and the return of bankruptcy protections to the 15% of loans that will remain after we get an executive order canceling these loans. This is extraordinarily important. This group is the center of the universe, believe it or not. Because of all the loan cancellation proposals we're hearing out there from Joe Biden and before him from Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, even from members of Congress like Ilhan Omar, Ariana Presley, and others, all of the other loan cancellation plans are crap with a capital C. They will never work. Congress will never pass a law that, particularly right now, will never pass a law that raises $1 or $2 trillion so that they can pay for loan cancellation. And even if they did, the Department of Education has no desire or intentions of canceling any loans, and they will find a way to bureaucratize whatever Congress might pass to death. Look at the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, folks. 0.8% of the people who should have gotten their loans canceled for public service actually did. That's how the government rolls. So all the other loan cancellation programs are nonsense. The president, whether it's this president or the next, has total and complete executive authority under the Higher Education Act of 1965 as amended to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order without needing approval from Congress, without needing one dime of tax appropriation. In other words, you don't need to raise any taxes to do it. Because remember, these loans were already paid for many years ago by the taxpayer. Taxpayers do not need to pay twice. And the president could do all of this not only without not having to pay for the loan cancellation, but also without adding anything to the national debt. There is no better way to stimulate the economy. And there's no more just and fair and well-targeted and easy and cheap way to stimulate the economy. There just is not. All the other stimulus that we've seen up to this point and that we're hearing about maybe for future stimulus efforts, all that stuff adds to the national debt. So eventually you have to raise taxes to pay for it. These student loans were paid for years ago by the taxpayer. And by the way, the taxpayer has already made most of that money back. So this is the low-hanging fruit in fiscal stimulus, and it's got to happen. Very happy to tell you we started a petition on change.org. We've now got 576 or 7,000 signatures on it, which is a great start. You know, that gives us a total count membership-wise of over 600,000 people. Now, I was thinking about it today on a walk around a lake here in Wisconsin, and 600,000 people is like between 8 and 10 Los Angeles Coliseums, sold out, full all the way up to the rafters. 600,000 people is way larger than all of the world's standing armies combined. 600,000 people is a ton of people. And so we've got a pretty nice muscle to flex. And I have to tell you that we're finally starting to flex that muscle. This week, we did a media blitz where a lot of our members, probably only a small percentage, but still quite a few, like hundreds, if not maybe thousands, emailed local TV stations on Monday. Well, I'm very glad to report that since Monday, we've done 5 interviews in Columbus, Ohio, in Jackson, Mississippi, in Baltimore, Maryland, today in Iowa, and there's a couple others out there. And so these have helped a lot. I'm not sure how many have actually gone to air yet. I know the one in Columbus did, and we picked up another 12,000 signatures on our petition as a result, by the way. So, folks, I'm here to tell you we are on a roll and things are really starting to come together. So, if you were ever going to fight to get these loans gone, between now and November 3rd would be your window of opportunity. This is a great window for us, folks. If we work really hard, and I mean me and you sitting there, if we work really hard to push this petition, we could have well over 1 million signatures. I mean, we could have tens of millions of signatures on this come election day. But you know, our goal, our immediate short-term goal for this election is that President Trump will issue an executive order canceling all federal loans by the election. If he wants to win the election, he will do this. And similarly, we are pushing Joe Biden to pledge to issue such an executive order. You know, if Biden were to make that pledge, he would win the election. Now, I know that sounds crazy, folks, but hear me out. Here are the numbers, okay? There are 55 million people in the country who either have student loans or are co-signed on them. 80% of these people will never be able to repay their loans. And I think most of them know it. So 80%. And that 80% number isn't coming from me. That's actually coming from the Department of Education. The recently resigned chief of the federal loan program told me that 80% of all federal student loan borrowers were either unable to make payments, so they were in default, or they were delinquent, or they were in forbearance or deferment, or they were paying and that's the large majority, or a smaller number were paying, but their balance was going up. It's a failed lending system, folks. It's done. It's toast. Put a fork in it. And the good news is all the bad guys who are running this big government lending scam, these loans from which the most fundamental consumer protections have been stripped, they all know that this is a failed lending system. Hey, and by the way, if you have any questions or comments as we go along, feel free to throw them out. I'm very happy to have a little repartee with the audience rather than being a talking head up here. But yeah, guys, it's a failed lending system. Everybody knows it. Frankly, I think it's too late to simply return bankruptcy protections to these loans. I mean, obviously, that is the most just thing to do. The removal of bankruptcy protections lies at the heart of this predatory, vicious, big government, and I would say unconstitutional lending system. We do not have to put up with this, folks. Bankruptcy is called for in the Constitution, ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. But you know, folks, after having done this for 15 years, I can tell you that they could return bankruptcy protections tomorrow, and really all that would accomplish is 10, 15, 20 million, maybe even more people going to bankruptcy court. You know, on an average year, less than 1 million people file for bankruptcy. So this would overwhelm the courts, and it would completely screw 10, 15, 20 million people. And these people would not come out of bankruptcy super happy and super stoked to vote for one candidate or the other. And it certainly probably wouldn't stimulate the economy that much either. So at this point, I think it's too late to simply return bankruptcy protections to student loans. Although we absolutely must return bankruptcy protections so that after this executive order happens and these loans are canceled, the 15% of loans that still persist should definitely have the same bankruptcy rights as every other loan for every other borrower in the country. But yeah, guys, I think it's too late. I think these loans have got to be canceled. The president, whether this one or the next, has got to acknowledge this failed big government lending, nationally threatening lending scam for what it is and push the reset button. This lending system is toast. It's done. It's failed. Of that, I am supremely confident. And, we've been around for 15 years, folks. I have been living and breathing this issue, as have many of our members. We know the deal. We are the street. We know what's going on with this lending system. We've written books. We've toured the country. We've been featured. We and our research have been featured top story on 60 Minutes. We've broken some of the most significant stories in higher education over the past 15 years. So we may not know much about anything, but we know a lot about student loans. And I can tell you, it's a failed lending system. It's done. One way or the other, these loans are going away. They are evaporating into a mist of illegitimacy as we speak. Now, this could have a good ending, and the good ending is what I just said. We get 10 million signatures on our petition. We come together as a peoples, black, white, brown, Jew, Gentile, Catholic, Mormon, Islam, and even Wicca. I don't know. People, what I'm saying is people of all racial, ethnic, religious, and other things that you might want to identify people by. We know no bound. If you're a Republican, welcome. If you're a Democrat, welcome. If you're a Libertarian or a Green, welcome. We are unified in our common enemy, and that is this nationally threatening lending system. The good outcome is the president does what's right, gets rid of this lending system. Congress and the president come up with a better way to fund higher education going down the road. And, there is no better opportunity than this current coronavirus crisis to do that. As I said, the easiest way to cancel these loans is by executive order, and that's really what's got to happen. So that's the good outcome. We would love to be able to endorse both Joe Biden and Donald Trump come election day, because the loans will be gone. The federal loans will be gone. But there's also potentially a bad outcome. The student loan swamp, that is the unelected bureaucrats, lobbyists, lawyers, investment firms, others on Wall Street, the relatively small number of people that control this lending system, they are strong. And if they had it their way, they would string this predatory, cheesy rat trap out forever. We could see the federal government and its contractors suing people in court, leaning their property en masse. They're already garnishing their wages and their Social Security income and getting them fired from public employment and even suspending driver's licenses in some states. In some states, like Texas, people are actually being hauled off in arrest on account of their student loans. So we don't want any of that nonsense, folks. We're a better country than that. We don't have to take this. The founding fathers are on our side, not the lending system side. So, again, whatever your political stripes, your ethnicity, your religion, your political beliefs, your hair color, your eye color, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, we don't care. You are welcome here. We have to come together on this and throw this big government monstrosity off of our backs. Now, you may love the government, and the government's great, right? I'm sure the Department of Veterans Affairs does a great job. I'm sure the Department of Transportation does a fine job building bridges and highways and all the things that it does. I'm sure the Department of Defense does a fine job keeping us safe and all that good stuff. But the Department of Education has got to go, folks. Certainly, the Office of Federal Student Aid has become a captured, corrupted, parasitic, cancerous, predatory, nationally damaging, and even worse, nationally threatening entity that has become tyrannical. And everybody knows it. It's got to go. So we need to fight for that good outcome, guys. It only takes a little bit of effort. And as evidenced this week by the fact that we were able to get 4 different news stories going, and hopefully more, by the way, we can do this. We've got a muscle to flex just with the 600,000 people we have now on this group. Imagine what we can do when we have 6 million people on this group. So, you sitting there, we need your help and you need us. These are your loans. This is your problem. But if we don't stand up, it's also going to be a huge problem for the tens or even hundreds of millions of people that are going to follow in our footsteps. We've got to make this country a better place for the future. And this is your calling, like it or not. We are the pioneers, like it or don't. As I said, there are 44 million people in the country who either have student loans or are co-signed on them. That's more people than the state of California and maybe even the state of New York combined. That's like a lot of people. Maybe not quite that big, but we would be larger than the state of California. These 44 million distressed student loan borrowers, put it that way. We need to find these people. 1 out of 5 of all the adults that everybody that's over the age of 18, 1 out of 5 of them have student loans. And of those, 4 out of 5 of those guys are freaking out about their student loans. So, at least 4 people who maybe they don't want to join us on Facebook. I get that. A lot of people hate Facebook, and I understand that. But they should at least be signed onto our petition for sure. So if you take nothing more away tonight from what I've said, at least get 4 or 5 people that with student loans to sign this petition. Change.org/cancel student loans, capital C, capital S, capital L. And again, don't think that any of the other jokers out there who say they're calling for loan cancellation, including Joe Biden, I'm sorry to say, don't think that they're going to do anything for you. They are not. We've been doing this for 15 years, folks, and we have seen all the charlatans. They say they're for loan cancellation, and then they propose a bunch of nonsense that will never, ever, ever work. Doomed to fail legislation. Be smarter than that. Don't let the fakes demotivate you, discourage you, because frankly, folks, that's exactly what they want. The bad people who want to make this lending system permanent, they want you to, above all things, they want you to do nothing. They want you to sit there, wait, watch, and worry, be confused, be vexed, be hypnotized into inaction. They love that. They love that. Don't give them the pleasure. You make it your mission for yourself, for your friends with student loans, for the tens or hundreds of millions of people that we're fighting for, whether we know it or not. You make it your mission to get as many people to sign this petition as you possibly can. Paste the link to it in 100 places around Facebook and in the comments around articles. Contact every news organization in your state, every TV station, every radio station, every newspaper. That's probably, depending on what state you live in, that that's maybe like 30 companies, 30 media companies. Tell them to report on this petition. It really is working, folks. It really is. And by the way, thanks to everybody out there who has put in some time and some effort into contacting the media and getting certainly the current news stories that we're working on out. And by the way, folks, we've been featured not only on the 4 or 5 things I mentioned tonight. We've been interviewed by Fox News and Coast to Coast Radio and Minneapolis Progressive Radio. We don't distinguish. We will go on any media, conservative, liberal, anywhere in between, from Rush Limbaugh to Rachel Maddow. We can answer all the tough questions. I would love it for you to be interviewed if you feel confident being interviewed and speaking for yourself. That's great. But I know that realistically a lot of people aren't really good at handling the tough questions, like, why should the taxpayer pay for your loans? Or if you borrow money, shouldn't you have to pay it back? And like stuff like that. We can answer all of those questions really well. It's really easy once you've thought about it, but most people have not. So yeah, we've been sharpening this sword for many years. We can answer all the tough questions. You don't have to do anything. Just contact them. Every news organization, if you scroll around their websites, you can find a contact email, maybe for a reporter, maybe for a producer, maybe they have a news tip email. You can find a way to get a note into them, and you can tell them that they need to report on this petition. So do that. It starts with you. So, yep, we are off to a great start, folks. And I've said before, people ask me a lot of times, so what are the actual chances of these loans getting canceled? And the answer truly is how hard we, the people on this group, this Facebook group, as a matter of fact, but also those of you watching us on YouTube, those of you who signed our petition, watching it through the email stuff blast that we do. It depends on how hard we work. If 0% of the people on this group push this petition and what it stands for, then we have a 0% chance of these loans getting, not zero, probably about a 5 or 10% chance of these loans getting canceled. Because, people in Washington, D.C., they know it's a failed lending system. So you never know. Brighter heads may prevail one day. But that hasn't happened in the past 15 years, so we can't count on it. If half, 50% of the people in this group, half of the 600,000 people in this group, on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on our petition, if half, 50% of the people actually put in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, pasting the link to this petition, contacting news organizations and getting them to do stories, getting your friends to sign the petition, then really, guys, that's an army. 300,000 people, I think we would have a better than 50% chance of success of actually getting these loans canceled, perhaps by November 3rd, by the election. This issue is in play in the presidential race this time around. It wasn't 4 years ago. It is now. Because Joe Biden, although his platform sucks, and I'll be honest, I have to say it just absolutely sucks, not trustworthy, just by Joe Biden mouthing the words bankruptcy, mouthing the words loan cancellation, that's enough to sway a lot of those 44 million distressed student loan borrowers to vote for him. And most of those 44 million people, by the way, 40% of them are politically independent. 25% of them are Republican. 35% are Democratic. So that's a lot of people. And I think the majority of those people could go either way in this presidential race. So Joe Biden has, whether he knows it or not, really broken the ice on this topic. If the election were held tomorrow, I think Donald Trump, all things being equal, would have a very hard time winning. So if half the people in this group, 300,000 people, did those things to grow this petition, and if they did, we would easily get 5 million signatures on the petition, I would think. Somewhere around there. Let's say 3 million. With 3 million signatures on the petition, guys, that is a huge number. It's giant. Although it could be much, much, much larger. We could have 44 million people on the petition. It's all a matter of how many people in the country find out about the petition. If all 320 million people in this country knew about this petition, probably more than 44 million would sign it. Probably 50 to 60 million people would sign it. But it's a marketing thing, guys. We have to get the word out, and it's as simple as that. So, yeah, if 0% of us do anything, we've got maybe a 5 or 10% chance. If 50% of the people on this group do something, spend just a little bit of time every day promoting this petition, however you think is best for you, those things I mentioned, or maybe some other things that I haven't thought of, I give us a significantly better than 50% chance of these loans actually getting canceled by the election. If 100% of the people in this group right now, 600,000 people, spend 15 minutes a day doing the kind of things that I do, maybe less, well, probably a lot less, but 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, pasting a link to the petition, Twittering it, sending it to famous people, calling news organizations, telling them to report on the petition. I keep coming back to that. We would have at least a 95, if not 99% chance of these loans actually going away. There is true power in numbers, folks. But we, me, you, and the other people, the other 599,999 people, 98 people who have found us up to this point, we are the pioneers, like it or not. We are not even like, what, 6 million, 60 million. We're like not even like 1% of all student loan borrowers. So we are the pioneers. We are the Johnny Appleseeds. We are the pilgrims in this battle. We are the tip of the spear. And really, guys, we are the spear. We are the eye of the storm. But really, we are the storm. So, what else can I tell you? If you want these student loans to go away, then make the next 53 days, make it either a quarter time or a part-time job. Spend an hour a day getting this petition to where it needs to go. News organizations, Twitter, Facebook, internet, articles, blog posts, sending it to your friends, your families, your colleagues, whatever it takes. Twittering the petition to famous people and telling them to retweet it. I don't know. Stuff like that. These loans would, I'm certain, be gone. If not by election day, then certainly by January 20th. So, is that not worth a little bit of effort? Is that not worth a little bit of effort for yourself? For the tens of millions of people who are counting on us to win this battle? Think about that. Okay, folks. Well, I've gone a little bit long tonight, 26 minutes. I usually try and go 20 minutes. I will be back tomorrow, maybe even over the weekend as circumstances dictate. Things are happening fast. Things are really picking up right now. So check back early and often. Oh, and by the way, if you or anybody you know lives in Jackson, Mississippi, and wants to do an interview tomorrow, get with me. Send me a thing on Facebook, or you can email me directly, justice@studentloanjustice.org. This is something that can't really wait. So, all right, folks, come on, guys. We can't do it all. You have to carry your weight. So bear that little burden. And it's not even hard. In fact, it's fun. It actually is fun. Try it and tell me I'm wrong later. I don't think you will. It's fun to make news organizations do stories. It's fun to get people to pile on. You know, we will win this together. We will not hang separately. We will win together. Those are the paraphrased words of Benjamin Franklin. So have at it, guys. Good luck, Godspeed, good night, and God bless.